right, so we are reading the Bible um, for the month for the year 2026. I have been coming on here live as much as possible every day. If I skip days, and I get right back on the course. Hold on. All right. So yeah, we're about to start with Matthew. I think I stopped at Matthew 25 last night. I'm about to double check, and I'm reading out of the what version. Okay, this is the New King James Version. I like this Bible. It's actually my mom's Bible. I think she might have got it um, from the thrift shop. So I cleaned out my camera, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm thinking I need a new phone the whole time. I just need to clean out my camera. It looks so great. I gotta clean out my off my screen protector. That's why I was looking all janky. Now it looks clear. My skin looks clear. It's motivating me. But yeah, what's new, guys? I'm literally am focusing on balancing everything that I have going on before I get to the reading. Um, Starting back eating healthy. I have my mushroom coffee right here. I've eaten my protein this morning, just some lunch meat and some cheese for breakfast. Chicken, oven roasted turkey, buffalo chicken, and some cheese and coffee. I wanted to make some bacon and boiled eggs, but I didn't have enough time today. I'm at farm school with my son. This is farm school day. We kind of left out early, late, so doing that. Really am trying to study the gospel. So I've been trying to come up with like a plan that I can stay committed to this year, so that I can truly understand what the gospel means. So that's also what I'm doing, and also continuing reading the Bible every day, so I can get through the entire book or the entire Bible this year. So that's my main things, and getting together, like balancing homeschool. I've been homeschooling my son for since last year, and just trying to fit it all. Like have my me time. Just like today can be a good me time. I can come on live. I can do what I need to do, take care of some stuff for work while my son is at homeschool, and I stay on the ranch with him. So yeah, I think yesterday, that's enough about me. But I think yesterday I stopped on Matthew 25. I'm just gonna make sure, and if that's the case, I think I only have like 3 more chapters to read in Matthew. So let me see. Let me get started right. So Matthew 20, 25, 28. Stop. Yeah, stopped at Matthew 25. So we'll be reading Matthew 26 today, 27, and 28. That's the end of Matthew. So that's good. We get through Matthew, we get through the Bible. And then we go back to Leviticus. This Bible study that I'm using is literally called Read the Bible in 52 Weeks. So it's I forgot, I think it's whatever, but it's Read the Bible. I don't have it with me, but it's just breaking up my reading so I can get through it faster. All right, so I'm gonna start with chapter 26 in Matthew, and I'm reading from the New King James Version. The plot to kill Jesus. Now it came to pass when Jesus had finished. Let me turn my car off for a minute. I love to stay hot. Okay, like I literally be having the heat on everywhere. But that's enough for now. Now it came to pass when Jesus had finished all these sayings that he said to his disciples, "You know that after 2 days is the Passover, and the Son of Man will be delivered up to be crucified." Let me see. Okay. Then the chief priests, the scribes, and the elders of the people assembled at the place of the high priest who was called Caiaphas, and plotted to take Jesus by trickery and kill him. But they said, not during the feast, lest there be an uproar among the people. The anointing at Bethany. And when Jesus was in Bethany at the house of Simon the leper, a woman came to him having an alabaster flask of very costly fragrant oil, and she poured it on his head, and he sat at the table. But when his disciples saw it, they were indignant, saying, to what purpose is this waste? For this fragrant oil might have been sold for much and given to the poor. But when Jesus was aware of it, he said to them, why do you trouble the woman? For she has done a good work for me. For you have the poor with you always, but me you do not have always. For in pouring this fragrant oil on my body, she did it for my burial. Assuredly, I say to you, wherever this gospel is preached in the whole world, what this woman has done will also be as a memorial to her. Judas agrees to betray Jesus. Then one of the 12, called Judas Iscariot, went to the chief priest and said, what are you willing to give me if I deliver him to you? And they counted out to him 30 pieces of silver. So from that time, he sought opportunity to betray him. Jesus celebrates Passover with his disciples. Now, on the first day of the feast of the unleavened bread, the disciples came to Jesus, saying to him, where do you want us to prepare for you to eat the Passover? And he said, go into the city to a certain man and say to him, the teacher says, my time is at hand. I will keep the Passover at your house with my disciples. So the disciples did as Jesus had directed. My sister, somebody calling me. Hold on. Okay, can you hear me now? Somebody was calling me. That's why it paused. How you doing? How y'all doing? Okay, so I'm gonna keep going. All right, good. Thank you. So the disciples So the disciples did as Jesus had directed them, and they prepared the Passover. Now, when evening had come, he sat down with the 12. Now, as they were eating, he said, surely I say to you, one of you will betray me. And they were exceedingly sorrowful, and each of them began to say to him, Lord, is it I? Then he answered and said, he who dipped his hand with me in the dish will betray me. The Son of Man goes as it is written of him, but woe to that man by whom the Son of Man is betrayed. It would have been good for that man if he had not been born. Then Judas, who was betraying him, answered and said, Rabbi, is it I? He said to him, you have said it. Jesus institutes the Lord's Supper. And as they were eating, Jesus took bread, blessed it, and broke it, and gave it to the disciples and said, take, eat. This is my body. Then he took the cup and gave thanks and gave it to them, saying, drink from it, all of you, for this is my blood of the new covenant, which is shed for many for the remission of sins. But I say to you, I will not drink of this fruit of the vine from now on until that day when I drink it new with you in my Father's kingdom. And when they had sung a hymn, they went out to the Mount of Olives. Jesus predicts Peter's denial. Then Jesus said to them, all of you will be made to stumble because of me this night. For it is written, I will strike the shepherd, and the sheep of the flock will be scattered. But after I have been raised, I will go before you to Galilee." Peter answered and said to him, "Even if all are made to stumble because of you, I will never be made to stumble." Jesus said to him, "Assuredly, I say to you, that this night before the rooster crows, you will deny me 3 times." Peter said to him, "Even if I have to die with you, I will not deny you." And so said all the disciples. The prayer in the garden. Then Jesus came with them to a place called Gethsemane and said to the disciples, "Sit here while I go and pray over there." And he took with him Peter and the 2 sons of Zebedee, and he began to be sorrowful and deeply distressed. Then he said to them, "My soul is exceedingly sorrowful, even to death. Stay here and watch with me." He went a little further and fell on his face and prayed, saying, "O my Father, if it is possible, let this cup pass from me. Nevertheless, not as I will, but as you will." Then he came to the disciples and found them asleep and said to Peter, "What, could you not watch with me 1 hour? Watch and pray, lest you enter into temptation. The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak." He went away again a second time and prayed, saying, "O my Father, if this cup cannot pass away from me unless I drink it, your will be done." And he came and found them asleep again, for their eyes were heavy. So he left them, went away again, and prayed the 3rd time, saying the same words. Then he came to his disciples and said to them, "Are you still sleeping and resting? Behold, the hour is at hand, and the Son of Man is being betrayed into the hands of sinners. Rise, let us be going. See, who betrays me is at hand." Betrayal and arrest in Gethsemane. Okay. What I am saying spiritually about Passover is killing the lamb, which is us. We're the sacrifice to the Most High God. Who's the sacrifice? We not the sacrifice. Jesus is the sacrifice. Is that what you saying? Basically, cross it over from carnal to spiritual. Christ has. I'm not sure what you're saying. Okay. Where was I at? Oh, the betrayal. So, verse 47. And while he was still speaking, behold, Judas, one of the 12, with a great multitude with swords and clubs, came from the chief priests and elders of the people. Now his betrayer had given them a sign, saying, "Whomever I kiss, he is the one. Seize him." Then immediately he went up to Jesus and said, "Greetings, Rabbi," and kissed him. And Jesus said to him, "Friend, why have you come?" Then they came and laid hands on Jesus and took him. And suddenly one of them with Jesus stretched out his hand and drew his sword, struck the servant of the high priest, and cut off his ear. Then Jesus said to him, "Put your sword in its place, for all who take the sword will perish by the sword. Or do you think that I cannot now pray to my Father, and he will provide me with more than 12 legions of angels?" How then could the scriptures be fulfilled that it must happen thus? In that hour, Jesus said to the multitudes, "Have you come out as against a robber with swords and clubs to take me? I sat daily with you, teaching in the temple, and you did not seize me. But all this was done that the scriptures of the prophets might be fulfilled." Then all the disciples forsook him and fled. Jesus faced the Sanhedrin, or Sanhedrin, and those who had laid hold to Jesus led him away to Caiaphas the high priest, where the scribes and the elders were assembled. But Peter followed him at a distance to the high priest's courtyard, and he went in and sat with his servants to see the end. Now the chief priests, the elders, and all the council sought false testimony against Jesus to put him to death, but found none. Even though many false witnesses came forward, they found none. But at last, two false witnesses came forward and said, fellows, this fellow said, I am able to destroy the temple of God and to build it in 3 days. And the high priest arose and said to him, do you answer nothing? What is it that these men testify against you? But Jesus kept silent, and the high priest answered and said to him, I adjure you by the living God that you tell us if you are the Christ, the Son of God. Jesus said to him, it is as you said. Nevertheless, I say to you, hereafter you will see the Son of Man sitting at the right hand of the power and coming on the clouds of heaven. Then the high priest tore his clothes, saying, he has spoken blasphemy. What further need do we have of witnesses? Look, now you have heard his blasphemy. What do you think? They answered and said, he is deserving of death. Then they spat in his face and beat him, and others struck him with the palm of their hands, saying, prophesy to us, Christ, who is the one who struck you? No, saying, prophesy to us, Christ, who is the one who struck you? Amen. Thank you. All right, so now we're in Peter. 6 verse 69 says, Peter denies Jesus and weeps bitterly. Now Peter sat outside in the courtyard, and a servant girl came to him, saying, you also were with Jesus of Galilee. But he denied it before all, saying, I do not know what you are saying. And when he had gone out to the gateway, another girl saw him and said to those who were there, this fellow also was with Jesus of Nazareth. But again he denied with an oath, I do not know the man. And after a while, those who stood by came to him and said to Peter, surely you also are one of them, because your speech betrays you. Then he began to curse and swear, saying, I do not know the man. And immediately a rooster crowed. And Peter remembered the word of Jesus, who had said to him, before the rooster crows, you will deny me 3 times. Then he went out and wept bitterly. Chapter 27. Jesus handed over to Pontius Pilate. When morning came, all the chief priests and elders of the people took counsel against Jesus to put him to death. And when they had bound him, they led him away and delivered him to Pontius Pilate, the governor. Judas hangs himself. Then Judas, his betrayer, seeing that he had been condemned, was remorseful and brought back the 30 pieces of silver to the chief priests and elders, saying, I have sinned by betraying innocent blood. And they said, what is that to us? You see to it. Then he threw down the pieces of silver in the temple and departed, and went and hanged himself. But the chief priests took the silver pieces and said, it is not lawful to put them into treasury, because they are the price of blood. And they took counsel and bought with them the potter's field to bury strangers in. Therefore that field has been called the field of blood to this day. Then was fulfilled what was spoken by Jeremiah the prophet, saying, and they took the 30 pieces of silver, the value of him who was priced, whom they of the children of Israel priced, and gave them for the potter's field, as the Lord directed me. Jesus faces Pilate. Now Jesus stood before the governor, and the governor asked him, saying, are you the king of the Jews? So Jesus said to him, it is as you say. And while he was being accused by the chief priests, the elders, he answered nothing. Then Pilate said to him, do you not hear how many things they testify against you? And he answered him not one word. so that the governor marveled greatly, taking the place of Barabbas. Now at the feast, the governor was accustomed to release into the multitude one prisoner whom they wished. And they had then a notorious prisoner called Barabbas. Therefore, when they had gathered together, Pilate said to them, "Whom do you want me to release to you, Barabbas or Jesus, who is called Christ?" For he knew that because of envy they had delivered him. While he was sitting on the judgment seat, his wife sent to him, saying, "Have nothing to do with that just man, for I have suffered many things today in a dream because of him." But the chief priests and elders persuaded the multitudes that they should ask for Barnabas and destroy Jesus. The governor answered and said to them, "Which of the two do you want me to release to you?" And they said, "Barabbas." Pilate said to them, "What then shall I do with Jesus, who is called Christ?" They all said to him, "Let him be crucified." Then the governor said, "Why? What evil has he done?" But they cried out all the more, saying, "Let him be crucified." When Pilate saw that he could not prevail at all, but rather that a tumult was rising, he took water and washed his hands before the multitude, saying, "I am innocent of the blood of this just person. You see to it." And all the people answered and said, "His blood be on us and on our children." Then he released Barabbas to them. And when he had scourged Jesus, he delivered him to be crucified. The soldiers mocked Jesus. Um, Honestly, I'm learning, so like I really cannot. I do not want to, add to the text or take away anything. So, like my whole purpose of reading the Bible is for me to understand more. So I don't want to lead nobody astray or anything. So I would say like take it to God and in your own personal time, do a study on yourself. Like I could give you what? Yeah, yeah, no problem. So verse 27, the soldiers mocked Jesus. Then the soldiers of the governor took Jesus into the praetorium and gathered the whole garrison around him, and they stripped him and put a scarlet robe on him. Thank you so much. When they had twisted a crown of thorns, they put it on his head and a reed in his right hand. And they bowed the knee before him and mocked him, saying, "Hail, King of the Jews!" Then they spat on him and took the reed and struck him on the head. Then, when they had mocked him, they took the robe off him, put his own clothes on him, and led him away to be crucified. Verse 32, the king on the cross. Now, as they came out, they found a man of Cyrene Simon by name. Him they compelled to bear his cross. And when they had come to a place called Golgotha, that is to say, place of a skull, they gave him sour wine mingled with gall to drink. But when he had tasted it, he would not drink. I am okay. What you mean by send you a message? I don't know how to send on here. Then they crucified him and divided his garments, casting lots, and it might be fulfilled, which was spoken by the prophet. They divided my garments among them, and for my clothing they cast lots. Sitting down, they kept watch over him there. And they put up over his head the accusation written against him. "This is Jesus, the King of the Jews." Wow. Then two robbers were crucified with him, one on the right and another on the left, and those who passed by blasphemed him, wagging their heads and saying, "You who destroyed the temple and built it in 3 days, save yourself. If you are the Son of God, come down from the cross." Likewise, the chief priests, also mocking with the scribes and elders, said, "He saved others, himself he cannot save. If he is the King of Israel, let him now come down from the cross, and we will believe him. He trusted in God, let him deliver him now, if he will have him. For he said, I am the Son of God." Even the robbers who were crucified with him reviled him with the same thing. Jesus dies on the cross. Now from the 6th hour until the 9th hour, there was darkness over all the land. And about the 9th hour, Jesus cried out with a loud voice, saying, Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani. That is, my God, why have you forsaken me? Some of those who stood there, when they heard that, said, This man is calling for Elijah. Immediately one of them ran and took a sponge, filled it with sour wine, and put it on a reed, and gave it to him to drink. The rest said, Let him alone. Let us see if Elijah will come to save him. Jesus, when he had cried out again with a loud voice, yielded up his spirit. And behold, the veil of the temple was torn in two from top to bottom, and the earth quaked, and the rocks were split. And the graves were opened, and many bodies of the saints who had fallen asleep were raised. And coming out of the graves after his resurrection, they went into the holy city and appeared to many. Now, when the centurion and those with him who were guarding Jesus saw the earthquake and the things that had happened, they feared greatly, saying, Truly, this was the Son of God. And many women who followed Jesus from Galilee, ministering to him, were there looking on from afar, among whom were Mary Magdalene, Mary the mother of James and Joseph, and the mother of Zebedee's sons. Jesus buried in Joseph's tomb. Now when evening had come, there came a rich man from Arimathea named Joseph, who himself had also become a disciple of Jesus. This man went to Pilate and asked for the body of Jesus. Then Pilate commanded the body to be given to him. And when Joseph had taken the body, he wrapped it in a clean linen cloth and laid it in his new tomb, which he had hewn out of the rock. And he rolled a large stone against the door of the tomb and departed. And Mary Magdalene was there, and the other Mary sitting opposite the tomb. Pilate sets guard. On the next day, which followed the day of preparation, the chief priests and Pharisees gathered together to Pilate, saying, Sir, we remember while he was still alive how that deceiver said, After 3 days I will rise. Therefore command that the tomb be made secure until the 3rd day, lest his disciples come by night and steal him away, and say to the people, He has risen from the dead. So the last deception will be worse than the first. Pilate said to them, You have a guard, go your way, make it as secure as you know how. So they went and made the tomb secure, sealing the stone and setting the guard. Last chapter, chapter 28. He has risen. Now after the Sabbath, as the first day of the week began to dawn, Mary Magdalene and the other Mary came to see the tomb. And behold, there was a great earthquake, for an angel of the Lord descended from heaven and came and rolled back the stone from the door and sat on it. His countenance was like lightning, and his clothing as white as snow. And the guards shook for fear of him and became like dead men. But the angel answered and said to the woman, Do not be afraid, for I know that you seek Jesus who was crucified. He is not here, for he is risen. As he said, come see the place where the Lord lay, and go quickly and tell his disciples that he is risen from the dead. And indeed, he is going before you into Galilee. There you will see him. Behold, I have told you. So they departed quickly from the tomb with fear and great joy, and ran to bring his disciples word. The women worshipped the risen Lord. And as they went to tell his disciples, behold, Jesus met them, saying, rejoice. And they came and held him by the feet and worshipped him. Then Jesus said to them, do not be afraid. Go and tell my brethren to go to Galilee, and there they will see me. The soldiers are bribed. Now while they are going, behold, some of the guard came into the city and reported to the chief all the things that had happened. When they had assembled with the elders and take counsel, they gave a large sum of money to the soldiers, saying, tell them his disciples came at night and stole him away while we slept. And if this comes to the governor's ears, we will appease him and make you secure. So they took the money and did as they were instructed, and this saying is commonly reported among the Jews until this day. The Great Commission. Then the 11 disciples went away into Galilee to the mountain which Jesus had appointed for them. And when they saw him, they worshipped him, but some doubted. Then Jesus came and spoke to them, saying, all authority has been given to me in heaven and on earth. Go therefore and make disciples of all the nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit, teaching them to observe all things that I have commanded you. And lo, I am with you always, even to the end of the age. Amen. That's a good way to end it. So we done with Matthew. Oh my goodness. Now tomorrow I'm gonna be back on here, and so I'm reading it. I'm reading the Bible from this Bible study that I have. So like it literally breaks it down to like reading 4 chapters a day. So I've already read Genesis, I've already read Exodus, and now I've already read Matthew, and now we go back to Leviticus, which is all about just tedious work. Okay, so it's gonna be like instructions, and I think that's like 40 chapters. So whew, Lord give us strength to read through it. All right, so yeah, tomorrow I'll be back on here. I'm not sure what time, but we're starting Leviticus. So I hope you can join the live. If you can't, you can always watch the replay. So God bless you. I hope you all have a great Thursday. Goodness, this week is almost over. But yeah, God bless you. I'll see you soon. Bye.